Right. Are you ready to go through this one? And then we'll help Oliver with this one, and then as we go along, we could give Oliver more time to do more. Refresh all the memory a bit. Yeah? Or no? Yeah? So why didn't refresh your memory for the week? Right, so question 4. Carissa and Aidan, you all hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? Okay. Right. So question 4 is made up out of either coordinate geometry question or functions questions, or sometimes they could throw a bit of both into it, right? Right. So in coordinate geometry, we have to know certain things. We have to make sure we know our formulas for midpoint, coordinates are your midpoint. We have to know the formula for length of a line. We have to know the formula for gradient of a line. We have to know how to form the equation of a line. So the general form is what? What's the general form again? What's the general form of the equation of a line? Huh? But what's the first letter? Y. So the general form is y is equal to mx plus c. That is the general form. That is what we want to get in the equation of a line, right? So in y is equal to mx plus c, we have to be able to find out what the gradient is, which is m, and we have to find out what the y-intercept is, which is c. If we have a graph, we could choose 2 points on the graph, calculate our gradient, and also read off the y-intercept from the graph. The y-intercept c is where the line cuts the y-axis, right? If we have a point and a gradient, we could substitute that into y equal to mx plus c and calculate what c is. If we have 2 points, we just take those 2 points, calculate the gradient, substitute one of that and the point into y is equal to mx plus c and calculate the y-intercept. There are 3 different ways of calculating the equation of a line, right? One next we have to know in coordinate geometry. We have to be familiar with the gradient of parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have the same slope, so that means the gradient is going to be the same. Perpendicular line means the gradient is the negative reciprocal of each other. So if one gradient is 2, the one that perpendicular will be negative a half, right? We flip it and multiply by a minus. What again we need to know? Anybody else we need to know? If you're given the equation of a line, you could get the gradient and y-intercept from that line. Meaning you put it in the form y equal to mx plus c, and we could read out the gradient and the y-intercept. Then we could solve 2 equations simultaneously, either doing simultaneous equations, or if you have the 2 lines plot, is where the 2 lines intersect. And then one other thing, perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular bisector is where we have 2 lines perpendicular to each other and one starting from the middle of the other line. So we need the coordinates of your midpoint and the gradient of the line in order to work it out, right? I have one other question here. We'll look at that as well. So that's some of the basic things we need to know in coordinate geometry. Then we have functions. What type of functions so remember you have like f of x, g of x, h of x, and there are some different type of questions becoming functions. There are value substitution, where we just substituting the value into the function. We have composite functions, where we join the 2 functions together. We have composite function with value substitution. Then what's the last 2? Finding the value of x given the function, and then finding the inverse of a function, right? So there's a quick rundown of the type of questions could come in on the question 4. All right, so let's look at this first question. This is January 2026. So in this question here, a straight line L whose equation is 3x plus 2y equal to c passes through the point -2 and 8. Show that the value of c is 10. So they want us to show that this is 10. So they give us a point. So once you have a point on the line, all we need to do is substitute that point into this equation and we get the value for c. Right? So that first part we would say 3. So remember in coordinates, x always comes first, right? That is x and that is y. So we will substitute x as -2. So we'll have 3, open bracket, -2 plus 2 by y is 8. Right? And that's supposed to equal the c. 3 by -2 is -6. So we have -6. 8 by 2 is 16 plus 16 and that is equal to c. -6 plus 16 is 10. So from there we see that c is equal to 10. Hence shown. You all had that one? So I give you the first person to have that paper. Right, part B. Determine the gradient of L. So we have the equation of the line, right? We have one coordinate, we don't have an x coordinate, so we cannot use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So once we have the equation, we could use that to find the gradient. So let me do the working in the corner here, right? 3x plus 2y is equal to 10. So if we could write this into the form y is equal to mx plus c. Oh, it cut off. Okay. You see the whole screen? No. Right, so I'll do it. Why didn't I shift the screen? Is it okay? Alright, good. Alright, so I want to put it in the form y is equal to mx plus c, right? So what we have? We have 3x plus 2y equal to 10. We want to get y by itself. So what we have to carry across first there? What we can across first? What we can across first? The 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 3x. Look where the y is. The y is on the left hand side, right? So that need to remain on the side. So we carry across the 3x. When we carry across 3x, what it becomes? When the 3x go across, what it becomes? Right, negative 3x plus 10. Now we want y by itself, so what we have to do with this 2? Right. So to get rid of this 2, we need to carry it across and divide. So you can just say divide by 2 equal. So when you divide by 2, everything here going out under 2. 3x under 2 plus 10 under 2, right? So here we have now y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 10 over 2 is what? 5? 5. So where is the gradient? Where's the gradient? I do all the work for you. Where's the gradient? Let that rusty. Ashley, where's the gradient? Negative 3 over 2. The gradient, look, y is equal to mx plus c. M is your gradient, c is your y-intercept, right? So look at this and look at this. Are you seeing that this is m? Right, so the gradient is negative 3 over 2. Right, 4c. The line with equation 3x plus 4y equal to 8 intersects the line L at the point T. Determine the coordinates of the point T. So what this telling you is this line, whatever that line may be, intersects line L, whatever line L may be, at a point T. So they want the coordinates of that point where they intersect. And that is when you have to take the two equations and solve them simultaneously, right? So the two equations are 3, if I write down anything right. See the screen here? Right. 3x plus 2y equal to 10. And the next equation is 3x plus 4y is equal to 8. How will we solve simultaneous equations? Again, what we need to do here? Anybody? Simultaneous equations. We look to see which of the letters, either x, which are the variables, either x or y, are the same. So in this case, well, what are the same here? The x, right? So what we could do to these two equations to eliminate that. Remember this acronym? Remember the acronym? Different signs we add, same signs we subtract. So we want to eliminate the 3x, both of them are the same sign, so what we need to do? We need to subtract. So 3x take away 3x is how much? 0. 2y take away 4y is negative 2y. 10 take away 8 is 2. Negative 2y is equal to 2, so y will equal to 2 over negative 2, which will be negative 1. So y is negative 1. So now you would take that value of negative 1 and substitute it in any one of these equations to find what x is. So sub y equal to negative 1 in 3x plus 2. Instead of y now is negative 1. So we calculate what y is equals to 10. 2 by negative 1 is negative 2. So we have 3x take away 2 is equal to 10. So what we are the carry across first here now? We are the carry across this negative 2. When this negative 2 go across, it become positive 2. So 3x is equal to 10 plus 2, which is 12. 3x is equal to 12, so x is equal to 12 over 3, which is 4. So y is negative 1 and x is 4. And they ask for coordinates. So you will write it as coordinates, which is x coming first, followed by y, which is negative 1. Right, so the three simultaneous equations here. Right, well, let me again refresh a bit. No? Alright, so part D here now. Oh, let me switch this. Alright. Right, so part D, the diagram below shows the graph of L and two other lines, x equal to -1 and y equal to 5. Right, so look, x equal to -1 is this line, y is equal to 5 is this line, this is line L. On the graph above, draw the line y equal to x minus 1 and shade the region that satisfies the inequalities listed above. So they have a little inequalities in this. Right, so they want us to draw the line y is equal to x minus 1. Y is equal to x minus 1. How are we going to draw that line? We need a set of values. So y is equal to x minus 1. So you look at the x-axis. So we could choose x as 0. And then we say we choose x as 4. So when x is 0, we will substitute x as 0 here. So we will get y is equal to -1. And then when we substitute x as 4, 4 take away 1, we get y as 3. So we get a pair of points to plot. 0, -1. X is 0, y is -1. There is that point there. X is 4, y is 3. X is 4, y is 3 is this point here. Right. So we put the pair of points that we need to plot, and we just need to draw the line. Right, don't forget when you draw a line, label your line. The line we just draw is y is equal to x minus 1. Right, on the graph above, alright, so we do that part, we draw the line, and we want to shade the region that satisfies the inequalities listed below. So the first inequality is x is greater than or equal to -1. So that is this line here, and is greater than, so remember when it's greater than, we had to put the arrows going in this direction. Then the next line is y is less than or equal to 5. So where that line is, this is here. It's less than or equal, so it's less than, so we go down. Then the third one is y is greater than or equal to x minus 1. So like this line we just draw here is greater than, so we go up. And then the last one is 3x plus 2y is less than or equal to 10. That is this line L, right? Is less than, so we go down. Right, and they said to do what? To shade the region. So therefore, we could clearly see all the arrows forming along this part of this triangle here, right? So we go shade in here. Right. So they're throwing a little part of linear programming here, right? To find region. Carissa,
Yes, sir.
how you make out with this question in Jan? Can you remember?
Honestly, I do remember.
Do you remember that too far away? Go on.
Yeah, I do remember at all.
Okay, all right, no problem. All right, so up next, we're going to look at January 2025, right? Right, so I'm quickly going to go through it and I'll give you another time to do it, right? Did I share my screen? Oh, no. Right, so remember those online, you all, if you don't have it printed it on Google Classroom, right? All these papers. Right, so question for January 2025. They give us a line segment that joins two lines here, C and D. They ask to calculate the midpoint of the line segment CD. Right, so there's a formula for midpoint, which is x1 plus x2 over 2, y2 plus y1 over 2. Use that formula and get the midpoint. Then they ask to calculate the gradient. Remember, so we have 2 points, name your points, use the gradient formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then part C, determine the equation of the perpendicular bisector. See if you can remember that. If not, I will do it shortly. And then part D, we talk about a line parallel. So if it's parallel, I mean the gradient will be the same. All right, so see how they could attempt this question. All right, so January 2025, question 4. A line segment join the points C and D. They give us the coordinates of C and the coordinates of D. Calculate the midpoint of the line segment CD. Right? So this is a line, and they're giving us what C and D is, and they ask us to calculate the coordinates of the middle here, right? So always name your points as you get them, right? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Once you name them, you won't get confused when you remember the formula. So the midpoint is given by X1 plus X2, negative 5 plus 7 over 2. That is your X coordinate of the midpoint. And then your Y coordinate is Y1 plus Y2 over 2. 6 plus 2 over 2. Negative 5 plus 7 is 2. 2 over 2 is 1. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 over 2 is 4. Right? So the coordinates is 1 and 4. Want to get that? Yeah. Then we are asked to find the gradient of the line segment CD. The gradient is given by y2 minus y1. So y2 and y1, so that is 2 minus 6 over x2 minus x1, 7 minus negative 5. 2 take away 6 is negative 4. 7 minus 5 has become a plus, so that is 12. This could be reduced to negative 1 over 3. So the gradient is negative a third. You have that? Yeah. Right. So this is what stump all here now. But there's plenty marks to give all for this, 2 marks just to get the midpoint and 2 marks to get this gradient. They were generous this year. This paper way. Determine the equation of the perpendicular bisector of CD, right? So I need some explanation for this, right? So if we have a line CD, perpendicular bisector, this is 2 words. Bisect mean it's going to go in the middle of C and D, right? So it has to go in the middle, and perpendicular mean it running at 90 degrees straight, right? So this is the line they want us to find the equation for. What is the equation of that line? Right, so that's what perpendicular bisector means. The line that perpendicular to it and bisecting it. So they want the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Because it's perpendicular, so the gradient of the line CD from above is how much? Negative a third. So the gradient of the line CD is negative a third. What will be the gradient of this line? What will be the gradient of the perpendicular line perpendicular to it? It's the negative reciprocal. So it will be 3. Right? So once we have 2 lines perpendicular, right? If we had the gradient of one, the gradient of the other is the negative reciprocal, means we're going to flip this around, which will become 3 over 1, which is just 3. And this is a negative, so in this case, this one will be a positive. Right? So the gradient there is 3. So we know the gradient of the line is 3. We need one more bit of information before we could get the equation, which is the y-intercept. To get the y-intercept, we know a point on the line. Which point we know on this line? We know any point on that line? Right. That is why they ask us to calculate the midpoint of CD. The midpoint of CD here is 1 and 4. So that point is also along this line, right? So we know what the gradient is and we know a point on the line. So we will substitute the point 1 and 4 and the gradient of 3 into y is equal to mx plus c. Y, remember this is x and that is y, right? So y will be 4. M is our gradient that we know. X is 1 plus c. So here we get 3 by 1 is 3. Carry the 3 across. 4 take away 3 will equal to c. 4 take away 3 is 1. So the y-intercept is 1. So therefore, the equation of the perpendicular bisector will be y is equal mx. M we calculate as 3. X and the y-intercept we just calculated as 1. So 3x plus 1. Right. Questions? Questions? You understand that? You had it? Oh, you doubt anybody. Right. And then the last question now, part D. This is for 2 marks again. Another line AB is parallel to CD. Another line AB is parallel to CD and passes through the point 0, 1. Write down the equation of the line AB. Okay, so what will be the gradient of AB? What will be the gradient of AB? The key word here is, the another line AB is parallel to CD. If it's parallel to CD, what will it will be the same gradient, right? Because the two lines parallel, I mean they have the same slope. So the gradient of AB will be negative 1/3 because it's going to be the same as CD that we calculate, right? That is why they tell it parallel. So we know the gradient is negative 1/3. And where's the y-intercept? Huh? Say that now. 1. Right? Y is 1. Why is it 1? So you substitute 0 and 1 and negative 1/3 in y is equal to mx plus c and solve for c. That's what it? How you get 1? You working before? This is a different question. They said another line AB is parallel to CD. So if we had CD going here, they're telling you another line AB parallel to it. Right? So it had the same slope, so it's the same gradient, but the C, the y-intercept. So two things you could do here. You substitute this and the point in y is equal to mx plus c to solve for c, right? Or if you look at this point it passing through 0, 1. X is 0 and y is 1. So this here is your what? This is your y-intercept, right? So c is equal to 1. Remember, if we have a graph, if we have xy, if it passing through 0, x is 0 and y is 1, it passing through there. So that is your y-intercept. So y is 1. So therefore y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 1. So you get lucky with that one. Right, so that question was 9 marks. How much of the 9 marks will I get? 4, 5, 7. Where you lose marks in? Oh. Carissa, how much of the 9 marks you get?
I got everything correct.
Okay, good. Zahara?
9.
Aidan?
All 9.
Alright, good. Alright, so we're wrapping up with this one here now. We're moving on to the next one. Right, so we're into functions here now. May, June, sorry, why is it May, June? January 2024, question 4. So now we have functions. Calculate the value of f of 4, h of 0, f of h of negative 2, the inverse, and then a composite function. Right. Honestly, this question is supposed to take, what let me say, 6 to 7 minutes. I'll give all y'all time to do this. See if I can remember how to do functions. I'll back this recording. Right, so let's look at January 2024, question 4. Right, so consider the following functions. F of x is equal to 2 minus 5x. H of x is equal to 5 to the power of x, right? 5 to the power of x. Calculate the value of f of 4. So in functions, when you need to find, so this is value substitution. So they have 4 in your bracket. They want to find what is f of 4. So all you're doing is looking at the f function and you're replacing x with 4, right? They put 4 in your bracket here where x is. So that means we want to replace x as 4. So here will be 2 minus 5. And where x is, we will put 4. 5 4s are 20. 2 take away 20 is negative 18. Part 2, they want to find what is h of 0. So now we're interested in the h function. The h function is 5 to the power of x. So that is 5. And instead of x, we need to put what in bracket, which is 0. 5 to the power 0. 5 to the power 0 is equal to 1. Right? Anything raised to the power 0 is always 1. Doesn't matter what it is. Next up, f of h of negative 2. So this is a composite function with value substitution. So what we need to do here is work out the second part first. You're working the part of the function that has the number closest to it. So we want to find what h of 2 is. Sorry, h of negative 2. So h of, not equal sign, make a mistake here. So h of negative 2 means we want to plug in negative 2 in the h function. And the h function is 5 to the power of x. So x will be negative 2. 5 to the power of negative 2. So anything that negative power, you have to find the reciprocal of it. So that will come like 1 over 5 squared. 1 over 5 squared is the same as 1 over 25. Right? You can plug it into your calculator. 5 to the power negative 2. So h of negative 2 is 1 over 25. So now we want to find f of 1 over 25. And the f function is 2 minus 5x. So this will become 2 minus 5. And instead of x, we put in 1 over 25. 5 by 1 over 25, that will become 5 and 5, that will be 1/5. So you get 1 and 4/5. 1 and 4/5. Or whether you have 9/5 or 1.8. All of those are same answers. You all have that? Yeah. Right, part B, find the inverse function of f inverse. So what's f again? F of x is 2 minus 5x. So let me write that. F of x is equal to 2 minus 5x. Right, so the first step in finding the inverse, let y equal to f of x. So we have y equal to 2 minus 5x. Next step is to interchange. So I write any steps for here for you, all right? Interchange x and y. Interchange means wherever we see y, we're going to put x. Wherever we see x, we're going to put y. Right. No common here. Right. Next step now is make y the subject. Right, so it has two possible answers here, right? So I will do it in two ways. If I want to make y the subject, I could carry this negative 5y across on the left hand side. So that will become 5y equal, we have this 2 on the side, and this x come across the side will become minus x. And then we have 5y is equal to 2 minus x, so y is equal to 2 minus x divided by 5. Right, that is one option. The next option is when we're making y the subject, if we leave the negative 5y on that side and bring the 2 instead, you will have x minus 2 equal to negative 5y. And then to get y by itself, we divide by negative 5. So x minus 2 over negative 5 is equal to y. Right, so any of those are correct, right? So therefore, the f inverse function is 2 minus x over 5, or if you do it this way, x minus 2 over negative 5. Both is acceptable. Yeah, that? I get you the inverse? Almost done. Jaden, you are still in this?
Good day, sir.
I get it, Shana. Right. Part C. Given that f of x is equal to a plus bx, determine the values of a and b. So what I want us to do here is find the composite function and then equate it to see what a and b is. So f of x. So f of x is 2 minus 5x. So a composite function means you want to find f of whatever this function is. So in this case, it's itself, right? So that is 2 minus 5x. So we want to put 2 minus 5x into its own self. So that would equal to 2 minus 5. And where this x is where we're going to put this entire thing over. 2 minus 5x. And then we need to expand brackets and simplify. Negative 5 by 2 is negative 10. Negative 5 by negative 5x is positive 25x. 2 take away 10 is negative 8 plus 25x. So from this expansion, we could equate this. We could see 8a is the number by itself. So therefore, a is equal to negative 8. And b will be, b is the value in front of the x. In this case, the value in front of the x is 25. So b is 25. Right, so that was the end of that question. 9 marks. Right. Any questions on this one? Didn't you write it down anymore? So much for to write down? Right, so once you're finished writing it down, next up we're going to do is January 2023. Right, so this is a full coordinate geometry question. So the interchange in here. All right. Right, so I'll give all that about 10 minutes. All right. So Jan 2023 question 4. Lines L and M are drawn on the square grid below. L, M. Write down the coordinates of the x-intercept of line L. X-intercept is where the line L going to cross through the x-axis. It intercepting the x, right? So line L, you follow line L and you see, right, it passing through the x-axis at this point here. So they're asking you for the coordinates of that. So the coordinates of this point, x going to be 6, and we didn't go any up, we didn't go up at all, right? We on the y-axis, so that means y have to be 0. Then we want the y-intercept of line M. So the y-intercept now is where line M going to intercept the y-axis. This is your y-axis, so it intercepting at this point here now, right? Your x value here going to be 0, and your y value is -2, right? Simple 2 marks. Part B, the equation of line L is x plus 2y minus 6 equal to 0. Find the value of k given that the point 9k lies on the line L. So they're telling you this point lies on that line. So basically they give you x and they're asking you to find what y is, right? So we're substituting this into this equation. So we would substitute 9 and k. So x going to be 9. So 9 plus 2, and we substituting y as k. 9 plus 2k take away 6 is equal to 0. And we need to solve for k. So we will carry all the numbers across and leave the k alone on the side. So this 9 take away 6 is 3. When you carry across 3, it becomes -3, right? 9 take away 6 on the side is 3, and carry across 3, it becomes -3. So k will be, we carry the 2 across now and divide. So k is equal to -3/2 or -1.5. Right. Find the equation of line M in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So to find the equation of a line M, we need to get the gradient. We need to find what the gradient is, and we need to find what the y-intercept is. So the gradient is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's look at line M. So this is line M, so we want the gradient at line M. So what we need to do is just select any 2 points, right? So I go select this point here. The coordinates of that point is 1, 0. Right, so I using my coordinates, I using 1, 0, and I will choose this point up here, 3, 4. So you could choose any pair of points along the line. You don't have to choose the one I have. Any pair of points along this line. So 3, 4. and 3, 4. Name them x1, y1, x2, y2. The gradient of line M is given by y2 take away y1, 4 take away 0 over x2 take away x1, 3 take away 1. That will be 4 over 2. 3 take away 1 is 2, so that the gradient here is 2. And our C, which is the y-intercept, if you go back up the line M, y-intercept here is the y value where it crosses the y-axis, or the ask us to do this already. Y-intercept of M, that is negative 2. So C is negative 2. Right? So the equation of line M going to be y is equal, gradient is 2, so that is 2x, y-intercept is negative 2. So 2x take away 2. Right, part D, one more parts we have here, right? 2 more parts. Part D, show by calculation that line L and line M are perpendicular. So we know that perpendicular lines, 2 perpendicular lines, one is the negative reciprocal of the other, or the product of the 2 of them is supposed to give you a negative 1. So the gradient of line M, we know that is 2, right? So let me write that one. Gradient of line M, MM is 2. So we need to find the gradient at line L. So what is the gradient of line L? We could choose 2 points along L and calculate the gradient. Or we could use this equation and also find the gradient, right? Anyone. Let me choose the 2 points. So line L, the gradient of line L, let me choose this point there, that is 0, 3. And this point here, 6, 0. So 0, 3, 6, 0. So the gradient of L will be y2 take away y1. So I choosing this point up here, right? This is 0, 3. And this point here is 6, 0. So y2 take away y1. So if I name this x1, y1, x2, y2, 0 take away 3 over 6 take away 0. 0 take away 3 over 6 take away 0. That is negative 3 over 6, which is negative a half. Right, so the gradient of M and the gradient of L we know, and I want us to show by calculation that it's perpendicular. So by calculation, what we need to do is take the gradient of M multiplied by the gradient of L, 2 multiplied by negative a half, and when you multiply it again, negative 1. And one of the rules says that once 2 lines perpendicular, their product will give you negative 1. So since the product of gradient of M and gradient of L equal to -1, they are perpendicular, right? I just use the symbol for perpendicular. Or you could also show that is a negative reciprocal, right? Just take this and say 1 over this, multiply by -1 over this, and we'll get 2. Very easier just to multiply it and get -1. And then part E, line L and line M represents a pair of simultaneous equations. Using the graph from page 11, write down the solution to the pair of simultaneous equations. So normally in simultaneous equation, we have to go and do a lot of working to get the value. But once you have the two lines plot, the solutions is where the two lines intersect. Where them two lines intersect here. Where the two lines intersect. Jaden, tell me where them two lines intersect. Huh? Right, right? What is the y? What is the x value at the intersect? Yeah, where's the x value? So this is where they intersect, right? You come down, where's the x value? 2. And where's the y value? 2. Right? So the answer for this is 2, 2. Right? Where the two lines meet, that is it. Right. Online, how you all get through this question? Anybody finish it? Are you done?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Professor, I managed with it. Zahara? Oh, I ain't all there. Tashana?
So I didn't finish, but I'm managing with everything so far.
Okay. Alright, so where's the time? 6:08. We did how much so far? We did 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have time to do one more. Let me see which one to do. 2022 have a functions and wait, 2022 just functions alone. Alright, let me see what's this one. No, I want that one. 2020 is a functions and a coordinate geometry. Alright, so let us look at 2020. Right, I'll even out 2022 and 2021. You all could do that as practice home, right? We're looking at 2020 as the last question for today. Have a function question and it have a coordinate geometry question. So 6:09. So I've given all you 10 minutes. I will have 10 minutes to correct it. Right, so January 2020 question 4. The function f is defined as f of x 2x plus 7 over 5. Find the value of f of 4 plus f of -4. What answer they get for that? Ricardo, what answer you get for that? How much? 14 over 5. What you gonna do? Right, so what we need to do here, we need to find what f of 4 first. F of 4. So that means we're plugging in 4 where x is. So that is 2 by 4 plus 7 over 5. 4 2s are 8. 8 plus 7 is 15 over 5 is 3. And then f of negative 4 will be 2 by negative 4 plus 7 over 5. So in 2 by negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 7. Negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1/5. How will I get that? Therefore, f of 4 plus f of negative 4 is equal to 3 plus negative 1/5, which is 2 4/5. Oh, that one is say 14 over 5. 5 2s are 10 and 4 14. Okay, right. I get my worry there. Right, so 2 4/5 or 14 over 5, right? Or 2.8. Right. Next part here, calculate the value of x for which f of x is equal to 9. So now they give you the function equal to 9 and you want to know what x is, right? So we're not substituting again, we're not substituting 9. You put in this equal to 9. So 2x plus 7 over 5 equal to 9. And we need to solve for x. Bring this 5 across and multiply. 2x plus 7 is equal to 9 5s are 45. 2x plus 7 is equal to 45, so 2x is equal to 45. Take away 7, which is 38. So x is equal to 38 divided by 2, which is 19. So x is equal to 19. Hence or otherwise determine the value of f inverse 9. Right, so let's notice this is only 1 mark, right? F inverse 9 going to be 19. From part A, f inverse 9 is equal to the x value, which is equal to 19. Right, that is why they actually here, they actually find the value of x for which f of x is 9. So when you put in 9 and solve for x, we get 19. Here now they tell you the f inverse of 9. So now they're taking the 9 and putting it in the inverse. So you come like you're working this backwards. So obviously you'll get this as your answer. Right? So if it didn't do that, meaning if you went and you find what f inverse is, you let y equal to the function and whatever, all these steps, and find the inverse, and then substitute 9 in that inverse, you will still get this answer as 19. That's why they say hence or otherwise. The otherwise is to do it the long way, where it's only 1 mark, right? Anybody find the inverse and put in the x value? No? I see you finding the inverse. Right, and they put in the value of 9 and they get 19. All right, I just asked who to find it. It says shake your head, let me know. Right, so that is the long way, but that is only 1 mark. So either way could work, huh? No, that's why they say here, hence or otherwise. So if you understand that this x is when you substitute 9 into the function, not into the function, when you substitute 9 as f of x equal to 9, and we get the x value as 19, When you find the inverse of 9, is like doing the reverse, right? The input and the output. This is the output and this is the input. So in this case now, this is the input and that is the output. So that's why this could be 19. If you understand that in functions, you could just write this and get your answer. But if you can't see that, then you have to do the working what you have there and come up with the answer. Right? Find the inverse first. Right. Part B. The graph below shows two straight lines, L1 and L2. L1 intercepts x and y axes at 4, 0, and 0, 2 respectively. L2 intercepts x and y at 1.5, 0, 0, negative 3 respectively. Determine the equation of line L1. So this is line L1. So L1, we have the coordinates for L1, right? 4, 0, so we can name them x1, y1, x2, y2. So to get the equation of the line, we need to calculate the gradient of L1, which is y2 take away y1, so that 2 take away 0 over x2 take away x1, 0 take away 4. That will be 2 over negative 4, which is negative a half. So the gradient is negative a half, and L1 is passing through the y-intercept, is where it's passing through the y-axis, which is 2. So C is 2 from your graph. So the equation of line L1 is y is equal to negative a half x plus 2. You have time to work that? You have time to work that? You get that? And so that was 3 marks for that. Well, I better really learn this inside out. I find that it's give away plenty marks for this way. Just to calculate gradient and read off the y-intercept. Right, last part. What is the gradient of line L2 given that L1 and L2 are perpendicular? So the gradient of L1 is what? Negative a half. So the gradient of L1 is negative a half. So what is the gradient of L2? Jaden, last question for the night. 7. Huh? 2? Jaden, is that it? You make an excellent guess there? Oh yeah, remember. Which one? Remember? Right. So once two lines perpendicular is the negative reciprocal, right? So if this is negative a half, negative reciprocal means we flip it, we get 2 over 1, which is 2, and we change this to positive. Right, so that was the another question. Right, so we did how much? 5 papers today, right? Again, my normal message to you all, the 2 remaining papers, find time and work on it on you. Get some practice in, right? So next week, I will be doing question 8. I like to do question 4 and 8 together because it's similar to each other. Question 8 also have functions, just like we did today, but it's more quadratic functions, right? X squared. Then it will have plotting the curve. Then we will have quadratic curves to plot. We will have velocity time graph and those things. So those who come in next week for sure, it's fine. I'll have papers. If you're not coming, I will extract the papers and send it to you all. Or you have to get it printed, right? Because a lot of things you have to draw. Right? So if you're not coming tomorrow and those online, you all try to print it out for next class. All right, any questions? Online, anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
No? All right, so I'll see you all next week, right?
Good evening, sir.
Okay, good evening. Bye.